Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. I'm joined today by SwimSwam co-founder Mel Stewart and Olympic legend, American icon, Jason Lezak. Jason, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought we'd start kind of at the beginning. You know, I know you were kind of a late bloomer in swimming, but when did you actually get into swimming?
So I started really young at 5, and I actually had a lot of success really little. So I was breaking records as a kid, and when I was 10, I was one of the best in the country. But I went from one of the best in the country to one of the slower swimmers on my team over those next several years, and didn't really understand what was happening. But once I got refocused and turned it around, changed my attitude, started finding out what I was missing out, and that was the love and having fun with swimming again. That's when I started putting in the work to get better, and was able to earn my way to a college scholarship, and from there just continued to improve every single year. And you know, late bloomer, I made my first Olympics at 24 years old, so achieving my ultimate success at 32.
That was a lot of history very fast. you had moments where you were the slowest on the team. Did you say the slowest or among the slowest?
I can't be 100% sure if I was the slowest, but I was definitely one of the slowest. And it was tough because when you're on top, and not only are you winning at every competition, you're obviously the fastest kid on your team too. To see all those people go past you, mentally, I had a tough time with that for a few years.
Well, I know why that happened.
Tell me, Mel.
It happened because you're a sprinter. Because you're a sprinter. You weren't doing your training, and you know the 200 flyers and 400 IMers and milers passed you. That's just a theory.
All right, so
let me know
yeah,
if it's true.
That's a good theory, but I was never a 200 IMer or flyer, but 400 IMer, I should say. But when I was a kid, I did swim all the events, and then in high school, my first 2 years, my main 2 events in high school were the 200 and the 500. So I didn't have any problem putting in work. That wasn't the thing. I became a sprinter because I wanted to be a sprinter, and I was getting faster at it. So I made that call later on, but that wasn't until later in high school.
200, 500. So what did you go? I mean, I got to be honest with you. I'm embarrassed with that history.
So
the history. But what did you swim?
Well, let's put it all in perspective. So, you know, when I broke 5 minutes in the 500, that doesn't sound fast, but I was only going 23 seconds in the 50 freestyle, right? So it was all relative. I think my 50 up to my 500, if you compared the times, they were all pretty similar. But it just so happened that I swam those 2 events in high school because 23 wasn't any good, and you could have a high school swimmer that could go faster than 23 that couldn't swim under 5 minutes, right? So that's why I got stuck in those events, I should say.
So what do you know, in your own words, why do you think you had those stunted years where you kind of fell behind the rest of your peers?
Well, I think a lot of it was I had this dream to make the Olympics, and when I was I was 8 years old in 1984. My parents took me, so I was in Los Angeles, and I saw the Americans win gold medal after gold medal, and that was always an inspiration. But having a dream and actually thinking about that dream and remembering to do what it takes to achieve that dream are different. And for those couple of years, I was so inspired. I just worked so hard at it. But then I kind of lost that inspiration, had that dream in the back of my head, and I didn't think about it every day at practice. So that's when I was just going through the motions, and I didn't have something that was pushing me. And I had to regain that by thinking about other things and figuring out, do I want to do this? And like I said before, it was about the love and the having fun. And a lot of that had to do with being on a high school team with kids that either never swam before, or some of them swam on a summer league team. And you would look around and you would see these attitudes, and everyone had a big smile on their face. They wanted to be there. They were having so much fun. And I realized that's what I was missing out on. So that little change of attitude and showing up to practice with a smile on my face made a huge difference. And it made me start putting in the work that I needed to do to improve. And it wasn't an amazing thing where I dropped from a 23 to a 19. It was a steady progression over those 4 years. And every year in high school, I went 1 second faster. So I was 23 my freshman year, 22 my sophomore year, 21 my junior year, and 20 my senior year. So back then, that was good enough to get a scholarship to college. So I was pretty happy with that.
Can we step back to 1984, just out of curiosity? Well, you just talked to Rowdy Gaines. Rowdy Gaines broke down his 100-meter freestyle. Were you there to see his 100-meter freestyle?
No, I wasn't there for that race, but I did see it on TV. I remember I was a fan, obviously, so I was watching all the races on TV that I wasn't at. But that was pretty incredible. Rowdy was ahead of his times. I think he false started, though. If you watch that race over and over, I mean, he was off those blocks pretty quick.
I'm not going to say you answered my question. I'm not saying that I was going there, but I think that's a very interesting piece of information that you shared with us.
Yep.
So you can say false start or fastest start in the history of swimming, because that was a fast start.
So I'm old enough to know history, and I watched that race, and I've watched things on it. And, Rowdy, I think, said that, his coach told him about the starter, and he was ready because he knew the starter was a fast starter and all these different things. So pretty cool, though. I'm happy for Rowdy. He's a great guy, and I really don't think he false started, but he had an amazing start.
The reaction time was 0.000.
That's right.
What races did you see at those Olympic Games?
Yeah, so the one I remember standing out, there was a guy on my team, on my club team. His name was John Micken, and he was only 17 years old at the time, and he swam the 400 freestyle. So, that was the one that I remember because of the situation of him being on the club team. But I think didn't really matter what races I was watching. Just the excitement of the Olympics and being there, and the crowd being there for USA. I've been to a lot of international meets and things since, and to realize that when you have a whole country there supporting you, it was pretty unbelievable as a spectator. But then later on in life, to be in a situation like that as a competitor, it's another advantage that those people have, and that was pretty inspirational for me.
I'm just out of curiosity, when you were watching, did you? That's the first thing you were thinking. Okay, this is the Olympics. I want to be a part of this. After it was over, did you go, when you're back in practice, back at home, did you fantasize about it? Did you dream about it? Did you imagine, okay, I'm in the lane next to Rowdy Gaines, and he had a fast start, but I'm overtaking him in the last, the second 50. Did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do any Rowdy Gaines ones. It was a little bit later. I think I was 8 years old at the time, so I was pretty young. So I had these dreams, like you said, but it was when I started getting older, it was more Biondi, who well, he was the guy that was taking over in those races. And then I started thinking about swimming Biondi and beating Biondi, right? But unfortunately, I was not. He retired before I started coming onto the scene. But for me, it was pretty special to be able to swim the same race as him, eventually swim faster than him, and then meet him in person and see how great of a guy he is, and how humble he was as well. And that was pretty neat.
So by the time you started coming on, well, I guess, was that during college or even after college for you?
Yeah, so I made a pretty big leap from my sophomore to my junior year in college. I went from, just a college swimmer. I didn't have NC2A qualifying times to finalist at the NC2As the following year. So that was a pretty big leap there. A lot of it had to do with, I was focused in the off season to get stronger and to be more dedicated to swimming. And then it came to a point where I lost the focus again, kind of like I did as a kid. So I got kicked off my college team, and that might have been one of the best things for me, because I had to go back to that team and tell the coach I was going to do everything that it takes to be successful. And once I did that, I put even more work in and more dedication, more focus. I became, accountable, because on a college team, it's not just about yourself. It was about the team as a whole. And I had to do what it takes to, not just for me, but for my teammates as well. And I think that really took me to the next level that year.
This is established Lezak history. I mean, if you're a swim nerd, and you would have to be hiding under a rock not to know this part of your history. But I think the real question at this time in your life is, how rebellious were you? Were you like, did you get to a point where it's like, screw my team, I hate my coach?
No.
No, it's internal. It was you directed yourself. Where were you?
No, I mean, I wasn't like a rebel that way. It was more so of, if I had something that I didn't necessarily want to do at the time, instead of, I wouldn't talk back, I just wouldn't do it. Right. So, and that was enough, because like I said, when you're on a team, your teammates are seeing you doing something, not making an interval or swimming slow. And they're looking at, why is this guy doing this? And we're working so hard over here. So for me, it was just about, I needed a mindset change. I needed to think, okay, not every single set is a set that you love. There's things that you have to do that you don't love. And once I, thought about my teammates, because all these guys are all my best friends and I didn't want to let them down. So part of the reason I wanted to be back on the team so bad was for these guys, and to prove to them too that, I could help that team. And I was always a team player from the beginning. I love team sports. So that was hard for me. And I had to come back to prove that I deserved to be on that team. And to do that, you have to do a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to do. And that's what I had to do.
Some swimmers are racers, they don't want to train. They want to race. Were you one of these guys where you just like practice was like, weren't making the interval, didn't want to do it, but if there was a get out swim, they would pop a fast swim? Were you one of those guys?
Yeah. I mean, I could swim pretty fast. I could switch it in my mind a lot. And as I got older, I learned to switch it in my mind during practice, during these sets that were uncomfortable, during these sets that you might not love, but there's a reason for every set. And that's what I really had to think about, especially in those years, was figuring out, why are we doing this set? I'm a 50 freestyler and I'm swimming 200s right now. But there's a reason why I'm doing 200s. That's going to help my 50 freestyle. That's going to help my 100 freestyle. So that turning around that mindset of, I don't want to be doing these 200s versus these 200s are going to help me for this reason, and this reason, got me doing these things better. And, I could, on certain days, step up and do a pretty good get out swim, or, I got up to a race, your body feels terrible, but somehow you trick your mind to be able to perform even faster because you're a racer and you don't want to lose.
So you were kicked off the team your senior year and then reinstated in the team. Is that right?
So it was my beginning of my junior year. It was during Thanksgiving. So I went home and had a Thanksgiving break. And I discussed with my mom, and she was really good as far as helping me figure out the next plan. And she thought that not only do I need to talk to my coach, but I need to come up with something to prove to him that I was going to do better. And I was writing a contract, putting the list of things together. And, I think that was the best thing for me. And I needed guidance along the way throughout my career, whether it was at this point, whether it was earlier in my career when I wanted to quit. My parents were there to help me. Later in my career, when I had some setbacks, my wife was there for me to help, boost me along the way. So I think anybody is silly to think they can do it all by themselves. For me, I've had a lot of help along the way, whether it was, like I'm discussing right now, and also help from coaches, learning things and making adjustments and things like that. So, it's not a one-man show.
So then you get back on the team, you're super motivated. I'm assuming you follow the contract, and what, after you're done with college, what's the plan for you next?
So I still had the Olympic dream, but it was 2 years away. And back then in 1998, people would finish college and retire. There was not really a such thing as a professional swimmer and making money. So I thought, okay, I can finish college. I can go back home and live with my parents and figure this out. And once I actually won the national championship title in 1998. So I knew at that point there was absolutely no way that I was going to retire. And I was on point and I was ready to go make those Olympics. I just had to wait 2 years for them.
Is the 100-meter freestyle swimmer on the national team the quarterback? That's the blue ribbon event. It's a star event. Are you the quarterback of the team?
Well, it kind of depends, right? Everybody's got a different personality. Everyone's got a different way about it. And for me, I was never the type of person that wanted to be in the limelight, as you see some of these other sprinters might want that. That wasn't me. I just kind of did my thing, and, hopefully I swam well, and hopefully other people saw that and were inspired by that. Later on in my career, as you know, I was voted team captain, and I kind of had to step outside of my comfort zone and do something I wasn't used to and learn how to be a leader And luckily I had some good role models paying attention to Magic Johnson as a kid. He was my role model as a basketball player, and he was the best team leader ever. It just wasn't my personality, but I watched him do it. And, it's something that kind of naturally came to my life and I had to do. And I think I was successful at it once I became captain.
If someone had told you, if they'd stepped back in time from the future and they said, Jason, you're going to be doing this until what, we were 37, 38? How old were you when you retired?
I was 36, 37 officially when the press release went out. But I knew after the Olympics I was going to retire. I was just kind of figuring out my plan. And, honestly, I would have never thought that. I would have never even thought I'd be swimming at 24 years old. Like I said, based on the fact that people retire after college, that's just what you did. And, it was about having a dream. And then it was about pursuing things, even so, because I knew I could do better. We lost that relay in 2000 for the first time in history. And I didn't want to retire after that. I wanted to come back and say, look, this is a race I grew up loving, watching. We dominated it. I need to go back out there and help Team USA dominate this race again.
I might be jumping a little bit ahead, but I just the one thing I wanted to know before you agreed to come on and share some of your life with us is that every single quad, when the Olympics happened, it's done, you had to make a decision to come back. Did you ever question, can my body keep doing this? Am I pushing it? Am I pushing it? Can my body keep doing this? Can I keep performing? Was that ever, was that a dark shadow in your head?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, being an older swimmer, it was hard. And after 2004, my body was already changing a lot, and I had to make adjustments in my training to be able to do certain things. And that was part of the reason I didn't have the Olympic success in 2004 as I wanted to, was I peaked at the Olympic trials and I hit it really, really good. And then I didn't know exactly how to come back and train during that month. And my coach and myself, we went in there and we went right after it, and my body never recovered. So I made a big mistake as far as I thought I needed to train hard, and I trained a little too hard too soon and never really fully recovered from that. So in 2008, I made a big adjustment, and I learned so much from 4 years earlier. I went into those Olympic trials still fully rested, broke my American record, but then I was able to stay on top and keep my performance where I needed it to be without going too hard or too easy. So it was unfortunately a setback in 2004, but I learned from it to come back and be able to do better in 2008.
So we also talked to Gary Hall Jr. not too long ago. And, he said I think it was after 96, the Olympics was the only meet for him. He would take a year off at the beginning of each quad, and then he kind of work up towards those Olympics. But, he didn't really have much else on the periphery. What was your, after each Olympics was over, what was your perspective or process in getting back into that quad or attacking that quad? Were you just solely it's Olympics, or were you kind of more about the quad as a whole?
So for me, I was about both. So I had the big focus was the Olympics, and that's what I wanted to really, perform at my best. But I needed short term. So I needed to be thinking about World Championships or Pan Pacific Championships. And even shorter term, I needed to be thinking about what race am I going to this fall? Where am I traveling to, and where am I going to compete? I'm not going to be at my best. I'm not going to be fully shaved and tapered, but I'm a racer, and I need to get out there and I need to race. I couldn't imagine swimming once a year or once every 4 years. I needed racing all the time. And for me, that's part of practice. I do things in practice that can simulate racing, but it's not the same as getting up there against 7 of the fastest in the world, or even just 7 really, really fast swimmers. So for me, being as part of many races as I could was what I needed to do.
Did you have a favorite in-season meet that you would go to, that you went to once, or that you would go to?
Well, I mean, obviously, I love to travel, but I also love to be at home. So there was a meet in my hometown, Irvine, where I trained. It was called the Grand Challenge, and we actually had money at this meet. This was like the first money meet in the U.S., and I I don't know, they changed it since, but it was $300 for winning. And for me, that was a ton of money. It was like, wow, we can go win $300. And then later in my career, they invented a wheel. So if you were seed first, you spin the wheel and it could go up to $1,000. But I always hit like 300 or 400. So I never got lucky on that. But, it was a great meet. Number one, I was in my hometown. There was always people there cheering for me. And I enjoyed that. And then even to go even further, staying in my hometown, we wound up hosting nationals a couple times after, having Pam packs there. And to have like 50 people come cheering for you in the stands, it's pretty special. And so it's always fun swimming at your hometown.
When we talked to Rowdy was different era, but he worked as a night clerk. Were you able to support yourself financially? And if so, at what level? What level of comfort was it? Yeah, I'm not asking you to give too much away, but
yeah, no worries. So I delivered pizza a little bit. No, so I did that before I graduated college. But once I became a professional, I can kind of tell you, I got no problem saying this right now. I mean, my first professional swimsuit contract was for $2,500. So not exactly money that's going to pay rent. If you know Southern California, Orange County, I went looking at places with one of my friends, and it was $1,200 each for rent at some little dumpy apartment, right? So no, I wasn't making money at the first. I was living with my parents for, I think 2 years after I graduated. And finally, by living with them and then having a little Olympic success, most of that came from USA Swimming, USOC bonus money from the Olympics. I was able to put a little money into a condo and invest into that. And my mortgage was actually less than if I was renting because of that. So that was great. And I was able to establish. And then later on in my career, yes, I got some bigger sponsors and made even more medal money and things like that. So, kind of stepped up year by year and progressed a little bit, but it was all about performance. The better I get, the more money I made, but never to the point where, I could retire and be sitting around doing nothing, which, you see behind me right now. That's what I'm up to right now. And, it's great, but I think a lot of it has to do with my success too. A lot of it came in 2008 when the economy took a really bad hit.
So I wanted to sidetrack for a minute. You said Magic Johnson was one of your idols. Have you been watching The Last Dance?
Yes, I have. I mean, obviously, not being a Magic fan, that doesn't mean you still can't appreciate somebody like Jordan. I didn't want to see Jordan win when it was against the Lakers, but watching somebody with that kind of talent, I think, is unbelievable. And to be honest with you, I think if you take the NBA, because I'm a huge NBA fan, it was great when the guys came to watch us swim. And I think one of the reasons, I was talking to some of the guys, and part of the reason they come watch us is the same thing. They appreciate talent and they see how hard we work and how much USA dominates in the sport of swimming. And they can relate to that because they're doing the same thing. They're dominating their game and they work hard to get there. So I think that's what they appreciate. And like, I'm the same way. I can appreciate watching somebody that's great, like Michael, even though I wasn't a Michael Jordan fan per se.
So you're a sprint man. What's your vertical leap?
I think I hit like 49 at one point. That was just like 1 inch higher than Jordan. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Do you know your vertical leap?
No, I mean, I measured it one time back in the day. I mean, I was like 34 or something like that, I believe. I mean, I didn't keep track. I didn't have hops at one point. I couldn't even dunk when I was 6'4" until my senior year of high school. So, and then from there, I got better hops and increased my strength from doing other outside plyometrics and weights. But I wasn't naturally gifted with hops.
Two-hand dunk?
Oh, I can still dunk with 2 hands, Mel. It just hurts a little bit more now.
2-hand from behind?
I could do a 2-hand reverse, yes.
I don't like you anymore.
I will say, though, when I was at my kids' basketball practice last year, someone said, "Oh, go dunk," and not warmed up, body stiff and old. I went up there and it just right against the ram, and I get in there. It's like, oh, that's pathetic. I can't try that one again.
God, I wish there was a video of that.
In 2008, the Supersuit era begins. Did that affect? And so then we start seeing like all these really big guys start suddenly being really good at swimming, and it not that they were not good before, but they start breaking world records. And So did that affect the way you trained at all or approached training? Because, it seemed like for a while people were just trying to get really big and then squish into a suit and voila, there you go.
So, I mean, honestly, that suit didn't come out until just a little bit before the Olympics. So I don't think people were thinking about this suit's going to help the big guys only, right? So, and then in 2009, I actually took a little hiatus that year. And after Olympics, I was just going out doing a bunch of appearances, not really focused on swimming for several months. Got back in the water. I was about 15 pounds heavier. Never really lost all that weight and never really trained the way that I needed to. And I still swam almost as fast that summer, unshaved, at my home meet in Irvine as I did at the Olympic trials the previous year. So that next suit level was pretty spectacular. And I'm glad that I did what I did, but I guarantee you I would have gone faster than 46.9 in that suit and had the world record still if I would have trained that year. That next suit level was unbelievable.
How do you feel about the rubberized sausage casing suits? Are you like, do you think it's Formula One and it's cool, or did you hate it?
It was a pain. I mean, getting those suits on was the 2008 suit wasn't that bad. The rubber 2009 suit, that was just, your fingers are bleeding and it was just a workout trying to get that sucker on. So, I mean, I didn't love them so much, but they definitely helped a lot. Especially like I said, that 2009 suit definitely helped. And one of the things I think, as you said, the bigger guys, the thing I felt the most out of that was when I dove in the water and I pushed off that wall, that streamline, that glide was just unbelievable. So for me, I think that helped out a lot personally. But yeah, I'm not a fan that they took them away really, because I thought that why you do something and then put the next guys at a disadvantage. But if you see, I think also it's pushing the next level to be even better. And most of the world records are gone, and you'll probably see like that 46.9 I just talked about, you'll probably see that gone within a year and next Olympics possibly. So, I think it's been a good thing for the motivation of these younger athletes.
Has anyone ever approached you and to, about a documentary on the 4x1 through the lens of Phelps, that would have been 7 gold and 1 silver? It's for swim nerds, it's a fascinating topic. It's by most people, I think if we took a poll, I think most people would, majority of people would say it's the greatest swim in Olympic history for sure. But have people approached you about this story?
Yeah, I mean, NBC, being the Olympics and everything like that, they have interest in that, but it's not really from a personal perspective. It's as a team perspective. And I think, if you want my personal perspective, I can give that. But I think what makes it even great is it's come in as a group. And yes, I swam the anchor. I have the fastest split in history. But as we know, because we've seen this in the past, one person doesn't win a race. And Michael led that race off, and he wound up breaking my American record. A lot of people that aren't team-oriented people might have been looking up at the scoreboard thinking, I can't believe this guy just broke my record. Oh, man. But I was thinking this is amazing. He put us in a great position to start this race. So I have a little different mentality. Like I said, Magic Johnson being the ultimate team player, that's kind of how I've always been. And, even every single little hundredth of a second mattered. And, Colin had his best split that he's ever done. As Rowdy said, he earned that spot on the preliminaries. And then Garrett had a great split too. So I think putting 4 people together that swam probably beyond their capabilities of what people thought they could do, that's what it took. It wasn't just one split to win that race.
Did you feel like you had a certain chip on your shoulder for you and your team? Because like you said, in 2000, you guys lost for the first time in however long. And then 2004, South Africa kind of surprised everyone and got it there.
Yeah, no, for me, it was the history. It wasn't the French, all the trash talking they were doing and all that kind of stuff. I didn't even listen to it. I didn't care, because all I cared about was what can I do to help Team USA bring back the gold medal. And as I mentioned before, growing up watching that race, we didn't just win, we dominated. I remember winning by 3 seconds. So this wasn't a race that, USA would win by hundredths of a second. This was a race we dominated, and I wanted to be back on top and help bring that gold back to USA.
So since that moment in time, Have you spent time socially with Alan Bernard, or can he look you in the eye? Is there any tension between you? Are you guys buddies?
No, we're not buddies. I saw a lot of the other athletes at other meets and talked to them, but at the World Championships in 11 and the Olympics in 12 were the only times I'd seen him since, and we didn't have any discussions. But all the other guys that I talked to, they're really nice. Of course, they wanted to win gold medals just like we did, but we had the hardships on the other times, and this was their hardship, right? And then they got their revenge, as people say, in 2012. So, for me, it was about doing my best, and I'd still talk to those South Africans when I see them even after they beat us. I'm a competitor, and I knew I wanted to go beat them next time, but it doesn't mean I can't talk to them.
Greatest Olympic race of all time, also greatest Olympic spanking of all time. That was, I think it would be hard to come back from that. He did come back, and he won individually. Where was your head at in the individual 100-meter freestyle?
So what most people don't know is, for me, I was pretty proud of that, even though people say you just won the bronze medal, right? But for me, I had to dig down just as deep as I did on that relay to win that bronze medal. And part of that is, as you brought up earlier, the recovery, and my body wasn't able to do certain things. So I came back from that race the next day having to swim the preliminaries of the freestyle 100 free, and I felt so bad. Like, you don't even understand. No matter what I did after that race, I did everything I needed to do to recover, but I just didn't recover. So I had to go for it in the prelims, go for it in the semifinals, and I'm barely making it to each round. And seeded 6 going into the finals, I snuck my way in there for a bronze medal. And like I said, my body wasn't feeling like I should be winning any medal, but I had to get inside my mind and convince myself that I was going to go out there and swim fast. And I think I did a really good job at that.
So fast forward to today, what feelings do you carry knowing that America is back on top, and the 400 free relay might be their most dominant relay currently, at least on the men's side, and also you're leading a group of those athletes on the Cali Condors, and you get to mentor them and manage them.
So let's just hope nobody says on paper, because when it's all about paper, you look at 2000, we had 5 guys ranked in the top 10 in the world, yet we lost that relay. 2004, we should have won that relay too. 2008, the French should have won that relay. So yes, you're right. Last year, I don't know how many, I think 6 guys in the US went 47 long course in the 100 freestyle, which is unbelievable, right? So they have the depth. They have obviously Caleb at number 1. They should not lose that relay. But with that said, it's not about what have they accomplished. It's about doing it in that moment and stepping up when it matters. And I really hope those guys can do that. And if they can, if I could give them any advice, right, it's going to be about being a team and doing it together and caring about each other for that moment, whether you're best friends or not. As you've seen part of USA, you got guys going up to those blocks and the other races and just swimming with the thought of, I want to win a gold medal, but not a thought of, I want to win for this guy next to me and that guy next to me and that guy in the water right now. So I think that's what matters the most. And, hopefully I can do that. But yeah, the ISL has been great, and having to, mentor some of these guys and get to know some of the younger swimmers that I, have been watching for the last several years and thinking, wow, that's an amazing swimmer, or that guy has done something great. That girl's done something great. Now I get to talk to them and associate with them. And, hopefully I can have some encouraging thoughts and share some of my experiences with them when they ask me for them. I'm not the type of person that's going to, force things on you like I know other people might do, but I'm going to give you my best. And if you ask me something, I'm going to explain it, and I'm going to share my experiences, whether they're good ones or bad ones, because we've had a half an hour now, and I've shared plenty of bad experiences with you, and I learned from those bad experiences and I got better from them. And, that's what I try to teach the kids that I talk to. And the same thing I'm going to do with the professional athletes as well. So, being the general manager of the Cali Condors last year was a ton of fun for me. And, I've already been out there. We're recruiting, we're putting teams together, and I know you guys can't wait, but we're going to be waiting until early next month. We have a signing period ending on June 1st. So as soon as that happens, I know you guys are going to be excited to be able to hear some of these teams, but the Cali Condors is going to come back even stronger next year. We've had, obviously we're not going to have our whole team together, but there's people that left and new people that come. And, it's all about the competition, the team concept. And as I've told you from the beginning, I'm a team guy. I loved team sports, and I see ISL going that direction. As these people last year, as far as the Cali Condors goes, we had an amazing team sense. And from day one, these guys were loving being on relays together, cheering for each other. It almost felt like the college style environment that is so great. And if, being at the NC2A championships type of thing. And I think I did a great job of putting that team together that could do that. And that's what I've tried to do again. And I think we'll have a lot of success next year because of that.
We've got less than 3 minutes left, but I don't know how Coleman was going to close this, but I have to ask one question. Quick answer. How much weight have you gained since you've retired from your fighting?
Shoot, I am right now about 230, and I was 215 at my best, 220, the highest I've been. But at one point, not too long ago, I was close to 240. So that's my max. I've never been over 240. I can say that.
Are you in the pool?
Not right now. I was actually swimming once a week for a really long time, and I just stepped out of that for a bit, and I haven't done that. And funny story real quick, that guy that I talked about, John Mickenden, who was 17, he actually still lives locally, and he started training with me a little bit, being an old guy, just wanting to be in shape in the water. So then after I retired, we would swim every Tuesday, once a week for a while, and that just kind of disappeared a little bit ago. But I'm hoping to get back in the water and swim a little bit more.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for your insight and your time, Jason. We really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.